All things considered, for the middle of January, where it's kind of a dead season for politics, shit's kind of hitting the fan here in Canada in one, but many very interesting ways. The Liberal cabinet is, well, kind of imploding before things actually start up again after the extended holidays for the politicians. We're going to be taking a look at quite a few things. We got some stuff from Pierre Poilievre. We have some retractions by immigration Liberal ministers. Yeah, I know. Immigration in Canada, apparently it wasn't too much, and now it's starting to be a little bit too much. So it's going to be pretty funny. It's going to put a smile on your face, I guarantee you. And Freeland being the Wicked Witch of the North, I suppose. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I want to encourage you all to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet already, and please consider turning post notifications on so it adds another layer of insurance to make sure you can actually stay notified for upcoming videos. And before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, I want to thank today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. We've teamed up together, and PIA is willing to offer my audience 83% off by using code SUNSHINE. Now, here in Canada, with Justin Trudeau in power, not only is he kind of like a communist dictator, but he's also censoring the internet, which is why you need a VPN to encrypt yourself and be able to bounce around different geolocations to really mask your not only digital footprint, but to mask your identity, because right now it's hard enough as it is to even get the news. That's right. Bill C-18 prevents users, everyday people such as yourself, myself, from accessing simple information that is our freedom of rights to information here in Canada. If you go on Facebook, you currently can't even see Canadian news. It's wild, and who knows what's next. Maybe he's going to ban everything with Google, maybe here on YouTube. So you need to cover yourself and protect yourself with a VPN such as Private Internet Access. And what better way to do that here in Canada than having 83% off? The link for that is down in the description below, as well as the pinned comment. Use code SUNSHINE with Private Internet Access for 83% off. Thank you, Private Internet Access, for sponsoring today's video. Half the time I forget I put my stickers on my coffee mug, and I bring this out into town, and people are somewhat shocked to see I did not see that coming. And Trudeau on a milk carton. By the way, link is down in the description below if you would like to purchase one for yourself. But apparently it's a bit of a shocker to some people, and it gets heads turning and starts conversation. So if you would like one, feel free to go down in the description. All right. Now, this is hilarious. We have a system that has gotten out of control, says the immigration minister, Liberal immigration minister, to consider a cap on international students in Canada. Yeah, that's right. So Liberals have been saying for years, there's absolutely nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with immigration here. And all of a sudden now, yeah, there's a little bit too many people. So let's take a little look-see-poo at what this guy's got to say.
Now to discuss all of this is Tom Mulcair, CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader. Mr. Mulcair, thanks for being here today.
Good to be with you, Renee.
Now let's start with this cap, or at least the possibility of a cap on international students. Immigration Minister Mark Miller says he'll be looking at that in Canada over the next few months. And
by the way, it's important to note that Sean Fraser used to be the immigration minister, and he somehow lost 1 million people. 1 million people in Canada just poof, disappeared. And we all know that there is too many people here in Canada for our infrastructure, not for our land. We have such vast land. We could house way more people. We just don't have that set up in terms of business, in terms of transportation, in terms of our roads, in terms of, I don't know, off the top of my head, housing. But no, they just keep bringing people in. And now they're retracting what they're saying. Slowly. And I can guarantee you by the time the next election rolls around, it won't just be international students. It'll be just immigration in general.
Response to a lack of housing, but there's also a labor shortage and a need for a younger workforce. So how will the government manage that? And is a cap on international students the answer?
Well, let me start by saying that I found Mark Miller particularly refreshing. We often say that politicians don't speak clearly and to the point, and I think he was spot on. But it takes guts to say that a system that his government's been in charge of, this is their 9th year in power, is now out of control. He's basically pointing a finger at his own government. And it's true. It is out of control if you look at the raw numbers, and it plays right in, as you just said, it plays right into one of the weakest spots in their tenure, which is housing. because, of course, you can't have 1.2 million people arrive in Canada as they did in 2022. That's the population of Saskatchewan. Let's be serious. And another 1.2 million. That's what we're looking at this year, just for the temporaries. So all the people who are either temporary foreign workers, students, and so forth. So there is no control over this right now. They're simply pushing out the acceptances. He managed to say in that.
I'm going to chime in here and say that's highly racist and discriminatory for the Liberals to say we need to put a cap on international students. Canada is a progressive and very inviting country, and how dare you Liberals discriminate against international people? Is it because they're not born here in Canada? Is it because they're maybe from different races, different countries? It's funny how the turns have tabled once you just let shit kind of roll downhill a little bit. But don't worry, conservatives, you're still racist for thinking these things up until now, but now that the Liberals are saying it, and it's kind of guised a little bit differently, and it's not immigration across the board, it's international students, which is, we all know where it's going to start. It starts with students, and then it expands into, maybe it's just everybody else. I find it comedic, ironic, and also extremely sad. Extremely sad. And speaking of extremely sad stories, let's just take a quick peek at this headline here. Patients diverted from BC Hospital ER after cold weather causes pipes to burst. Now, obviously, I'm not commenting on what's actually happened here in terms of somebody in the ER or patients in the ER having to be transported. But if we all just paid our carbon taxes, maybe the pipes wouldn't burst and maybe things would be a little bit better. We should all just switch to electric vehicles so we could fix the weather. In other news, let's take a look at Chrystia Freeland being Chrystia Freeland. And if you have not torn your ears off yet, you might do so from this.
Deputy Prime Minister, documents obtained by Canadian Press show your government was warned that housing construction had not kept up with population growth, largely because of Canada's immigration targets. Why did your government not?
First of all, where the hell's our lips? Second of all, if somebody's talking to you and asking you a question, you should look them in the eyes. Here, address the reporter that's asking you. It's a CBC reporter, a CTV reporter, by the way. I skipped the introduction part of it just to save a few seconds. Doesn't even matter because now I'm explaining it. It's just so disingenuous. She is sitting on a high horse. Woman, look at the person talking to you. Who the hell do you think you are? She's looking at her notes. She's looking at her notes and preparing a non-answer answer.
Not heed that warning and lower immigration levels?
Thank you for the question, Simon. And let me
be clear.
Say this. As a country, Canada is probably the country in the world which is the most welcoming of new Canadians, which is the most welcoming of immigrants. And as finance minister, I have to say that is a huge economic strength. It is a real driver of our country's economic growth. And at a time when all of the industrialized countries in the world are facing huge demographic challenges, we are extremely fortunate as a country that we have the social capacity to welcome immigrants. You are quite right that if we want to be a country that welcomes new Canadians, and I strongly believe that's the right thing for all of us, we have to build more homes faster.
It's almost like that's taking a page out of the Pierre Poilievre handbook. Nobody's saying immigration is bad. Nobody's saying targeted immigration is bad. In fact, the smartest people in the world say immigration is actually very much needed to grow an economy and grow a country. But there's been no cap on anything. It's just been open the gates and just let it go, which is why it seems like a week ago or a couple years ago, we were at mid 30 million people here in Canada. just to be surprised by hitting a 40 million mark. And the price of housing is through the roof. Mortgages, interest rates are through the roof. Gas is through the roof. Everything is so freaking expensive because we don't have the infrastructure to support it. And if you're wondering, where the hell is everybody staying? If there's a surplus of people and not enough houses, then just like when you're pouring water into a cup, water will overflow. And what does that look like? I don't know. Have you gone downtown, wherever you live? Have you gone downtown into the streets? Homelessness is on a rise. There's actually designated towns and cities across Canada where all of the hotels are booked because of the government paying for people to go and stay in those hotels and in those motels until they find somewhere. They're somewhere in Canada. They could be under a bridge. They could be in a hotel. They could be roaming around. Who knows? But they are here. People are here, and there's a surplus, and it's just not feasible right now because we're not putting enough government funds into housing, and we're gouging people, and then the Liberals are going around on these Jamaica vacations and spending extra money on plane rescues when they just don't need to be doing that. Mismanagement at its finest.
And that's one of the reasons I'm here. Our government is totally committed to getting more homes built for Canadians. You have seen that unrelenting focus for weeks and weeks and weeks, for months and months and months. And, you know, we started the parliamentary session in the fall by lifting the GST on purpose-built rental on projects exactly like this one. Huge impact. You know, Mike Moffat estimates that's 200 to 300,000 new homes will be built. You saw in the fall economic statement, we added $15 billion to the apartment construction loan financing program, which is financing projects exactly like this. And one of the reasons I'm so glad to be here today is to highlight the work on getting more homes built faster. We have been pushing very, very hard over the past few months, but it's not brand new. This project started in 2018 and was made possible by programs that were in place then. And the final thing that I will highlight when it comes to getting more homes built faster, which we absolutely need, it is the most pressing economic and also social priority, is the Housing Accelerator Fund. That is having a transformative impact. That is something that was launched in the 2022 budget. There was a lot of eye rolling, a lot of skepticism. Will this ever happen? Will it make a difference? Well, it is. It's being rolled out. We did a deal with Toronto before the end of the year, and that will mean more than 50,000 additional homes get built, and it's $471 million for the City of Toronto.
Madame Deputy Premier Minister.
I'm going to save everybody their ears and their sanity by cutting off what she has to say a little bit short. We're going to switch to what Pierre Poilievre has to say. But before I do, I want to ask you, the audience, what do you think? What do you think about what Freeland has to say? Do you trust her? Do you think that the Liberal government is actually committed to building more houses, growing our economy, getting out of this, what seems to be a perpetual state of debt and just downward spiral? Or do you think it's just a load of shit? I really look forward to hearing what you got to say down in the comments. Now let's take a look at what the next Prime Minister of Canada has to say.
And we need it. We need all of that. We need all the common sense we can get, because after 8 years, Justin Trudeau is not worth the cost. Justin Trudeau is not worth the cost of 40-year highs in inflation. He doubled the national debt, printed $600 billion of cash, flooded our economy with easy money, which ballooned the price of everything. He's now hitting people with a carbon tax that drives up the cost of gas, heat, and groceries. Now, we all know that Liberal MPs from Winnipeg betrayed their constituents and voted against a Conservative motion to give the same exemption on carbon taxes for home heat to Winnipeg residents that the Prime Minister gave to other Canadians. But those Winnipeg Liberals have voted against Winnipeg. They voted to raise your taxes. And as the temperature goes down and your home heating bill goes up, remember that your local Winnipeg Liberal MP voted to tax your home heat. When you walk outside and you shiver in this prairie cold, remember that Justin Trudeau and the NDP want to quadruple the carbon tax. They want to raise it up to 61 cents a litre, as well as raising taxes on your heat. Finally.
Now, unfortunately, right now, everyone is probably feeling the effects of the recent cold snap. And because of home heating costs going through the roof from the carbon tax, the 2 times carbon tax, 3 times carbon tax, which should be maybe a $50 or $100 home heating bill, it's now $300-400, and for businesses, for farmers that we've seen, that even Pierre Poilievre has gone and interviewed, you're looking at thousands, hundreds of thousands of additional costs because of Trudeau's silly carbon tax. It just never seems to end.
This is a tax on food. These are trucks that require diesel. The carbon tax goes on that diesel, so everything transported in these trucks becomes more expensive because of the Trudeau tax on carbon and on diesel. And so when you see your grocery prices reach record highs, it's because Trudeau is taxing the farmer who made the food, the trucker who ships the food, and therefore all who buy the food. While people are desperate and struggling, we see them forced into homelessness. Homeless encampments, like we've never seen in our history, are common now in our streets. Crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder runs rampant as Trudeau allows repeat violent offenders to get same-day bail and early parole. And finally, Justin Trudeau allows terrorists to operate freely in our country. Right now, as we see the Iranian government sponsoring terrorist attacks on our allies in the Middle East, we have 700 Iranian-backed IRGC terrorists roaming Canada's streets, according to the Global News report on that matter.
I don't even have the emotional capacity to get into Canada harboring terrorists. I mean, it's just ridiculous. We have so many other problems. We have corrupt government, mismanagement of money, housing crisis, food crisis, taxes galore, and now we have to include Canada actually harboring terrorists. We're not going to go there. If you want to piss your money away, stay in Canada. If you want to maybe get a bit of a tax break, you can buy yourself a sticker. Link is down in the description or the pinned comment below. I also have a link to buy me a coffee. Fill up my cup. As you see, I like to proudly have my I did not see that sticker. I did not see that coming sticker on my coffee cup. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't yet already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.